guest, Larry. We have discussed the largest problem with the American families today has to do with debt.
Indeed.
So now, did I leave something out?
No, that's true.
That's pretty basic.
Yeah.
And then we want to talk about a solution for that, and you and I have discussed how can you even think of starting a budget, and tell me what you shared earlier.
Well, most people, when they start a budget, they tend to want to put the biggest item on there. And for most people, the biggest item is Uncle Sam. And of course, that's taken care of on our budget because our employers take it out before we ever see it. So
yeah.
It seems like we always have the money to pay the taxes. But then the next thing we put on that is our mortgage or our rent, and then the grocery bill, the things that come to mind. And by the time you get through that laborious process, you end up leaving yourself out. It is very, very critical. A principle that must be followed if you plan to get ahead financially. If you want to be not in the same position 20 years from now as you are today, but you want to be ahead financially, it's critical that you set aside some of what you earn every year, and that you learn the critical difference between saving and investment. The two are not the same, and yet we see a lot of confusing terminology out there in advertising that says, come and save in our IRA. Well, that probably won't get you very far if you're only getting 3% or 4% interest.
Right.
And so one needs to learn about investments, and it isn't as hard as some people might think. It just takes curiosity and starting to seek information. There's a lot of information out there about investing.
If there's someone listening to us right now, a family who they say, oh sure, I can't budget, I can't even afford what I have. I mean, of course, the number one thing is to try to reduce the debt you have. Anything that you don't particularly need,
Sure.
get rid of the wants, right?
Sure.
We've established
Sure.
that.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, you really have to start at ground zero. If someone has already bought a house that's way beyond their means, nothing is going to correct that except selling that house and downsizing lifestyle. So lifestyles must be proportional to incomes.
And that's reality.
And-
Some people
and that-
don't like to face reality.
That is reality.
Yeah.
And if they're not overspent on their home, but are overspent in short-term debt, then we have to solve that problem before we can really move ahead. Many people have no idea. They get so frustrated about robbing Peter to pay Paul, they have no idea how to set that budget. And it's critical that one do it. It's critical that you consolidate your debt into the lowest possible interest rate. I've seen credit cards advertised for no annual fee and 8.9% in this current environment, which certainly would be a prudent thing for people to do, get away from those 14 and 15% cards and into the lower interest. That's the beginning of some relief.
Yeah, I think someone shared with me that if you had like a credit card debt for $3,000 to $5,000 and only paid what they required you to and had like a 22% interest or something, it'd take you about 30 years to pay it off.
It's awful. It
And
really
people
is.
don't realize that.
It really is. And whatever you paid in interest never gets added to your net worth, ever.
No.
It disappears in a dark hole, and you'll be much worse off for it in the long
And no
term.
tax deduction for that interest
Not
anymore.
anymore.
Not anymore.
That is correct.
Well, we want to stay on this line of